intuitive leadership. What is this all about? Lisa had talked about doubt. And one of the things that happens for those of us who are leaders is that we doubt those intuitive hits that come to us. We doubt the things that we see, the things that we hear, the things that we feel. So what ends up happening in those situations? We end up doing what we think we should do instead of what our intuition tells us to do. Those messages are so powerful. And afterwards you go, why didn't I listen to my intuition? Who here hasn't done that? So many of us do it over and over and over again until you finally get hit over the head and something happens in your world. Well, that's what happened to me in 1993. I was sitting at my kitchen table and I had just been given a report on my personal behavior style. And I'm reading this report. I'm thinking, this isn't me. This isn't me. And I'm, covering things and highlighting things and taking notes and going, that is not me. And I'm going through this report. It was about 25 pages of supposedly moi. Well, let me tell you, I closed that booklet up and I went, that's not me, no way. Well, about 2 weeks later, I was sitting in my green comfy chair and I'm reviewing this report again. And what happened? I'm looking at this thing, all my notes, the highlighters, everything that I wrote, and I went, oh, I did do that. I did do that. Oh gosh, I did do this. And you know what? It really didn't feel good. It didn't feel good at all. And it was then that I realized that I wanted to change those parts about myself that I really didn't like. Those parts about myself that needed to improve, that needed to be better, that I knew that as a leader I could do if I just paid more attention to the insights that was given to me in that report. We are not objective about ourselves. And because we're not objective about ourselves, we end up doing and saying things, and people will tell us, well, you're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing this. But we don't listen. We don't listen, right? And at that time that happened in 1993, we were stationed in Chesapeake, Virginia. My husband is a military professional. And at that time I had a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old. So let me tell you, life was insane. Life was absolutely nutso. And he was out to sea. In 3 years, he was only home for 6 months. So there was a lot of things that I was responsible for as a military spouse that I truly needed to improve on as a leader, because leadership has always been such an important part of who I am as an individual. From the time I was a little tot, I was always taking control and taking action, caring for others, and doing things that were acts of leadership. So acts of leadership can be done by anyone and everyone. I'm going to give you a little insight on what an active leadership is. You do not need to be in a leadership role, by the way, to do an active leadership. You just don't. It's not necessary to do that. Something as simple as walking down the sidewalk and giving somebody who really looks like they're having a bad day, give them a smile. Something as simple as that is an act of leadership, because that one smile may be what that person needed in that moment in time to break them out of what I call the negativity spell. We get caught into these spells of negativity and we're just going and going and going and going, and you end up going into the spiral. And I'll be talking more about that in just a little bit. So when you take these acts of leadership and you care about the people who are around you and you become aware, and I'll be talking about awareness in just a bit, you make things happen. You create movements. you create movements.